Yep, that's it.
Okay.
All right. Well, good morning, everybody. It's fun going through these technical things. I'm real excited for this database. Just so you know, when I sent that training announcement out yesterday, I heard from a judge that wants to use this new data system to actually read your PARB recommendations. So like live in court. So that's exciting. So we might be set it up so the judges can log in and read your recommendations that way, which is great. And then a couple volunteers have already given them login permission, and they've already started playing with it. And everybody's saying how easy and user friendly this is. So I hope you guys will be as excited by the end of this training as I am. One thing I want to make sure and tell you is don't panic. I mean, there's some technical issues. We'll get to move over to this electronic system. It's going to take some time. We don't have any timeline deadline on this. So if your particular board is worried about moving over to this new data system really quickly, don't worry about it. We'll get there. I will certainly come out and help get people logged on and get started. Kim's going to do that with Tulsa. Christina's going to do that with Oklahoma County. And Shara is going to be a floater. She'll be, I think most of y'all remember Shara. She's helped a lot with PARB in the past, and she's attending all these trainings so that she can help as well. So there's gonna be plenty of opportunity. There'll be some things like printing that we got to figure out. There'll be things like how to get Wi-Fi access at your courthouse or wherever you meet that we'll have to figure it out. But we'll figure it out. And if it takes a while, it's okay. We need to keep doing hard copies for a while. It's okay. But I think you're going to be as excited. I think most of you anyway will be as excited as I am about this new system. So, and like I said, you know, I mentioned in the email, we're doing another training. Okay, good. We are recording. We're doing another training on the 31st in the evening if people can't make it, and then we will have this, you know, recorded for people to watch as well. Plus, there's a training manual that Lisa's putting together that she's pretty much going to be going through today. So for those of you who don't know Lisa White, she's with the University of Oklahoma. Go Sooners. E-team or evaluation team. I worked with them back in my old mental health days. And they've been with us probably about 1.5 years now, helping. They did a study for Garfield County, which is Enid, and Oklahoma County on PARB, and it really helped us step up our game as far as evaluation. So they've put together this, they've been spending the last 6 or 8 months putting together this, we're calling it a data system or a database. It's just a way of putting recommendations and membership into electronic form on the computer. So Monique, you've got you need to mute there if you would please.
Yeah, I had to transfer from my laptop
to her
iPad.
All right. And yeah, you know, if y'all want to have your cameras up, great. I'm going to the whole time. You know, it's nice to see people smile. If you don't, that's fine too. But if you're not talking, which I'm about to not be, please hit mute, bottom left corner. And with that, I will hand it over to Lisa.
All right. Hi, everyone. Great to be here. Like Keith said, and I'm still admitting people, so I'm trying to keep my eye over here to make sure that everyone gets admitted. I did admit all, but it's still asking me. So like Keith said, we've worked over the past 1.5 years. I've gotten to know a lot about PARB and what a great program it is. And so we're just getting ready to roll out, or Keith is.
They still enlisted the Fitzgerald, all the people that commented on his website. I've never read them. Did you read them?
I think Megan has her. You
yeah, I'll stay up there.
Yeah, Megan, can you mute your video? There you go. You can always mute them too in the top right.
Yeah, I saw that was a hand, but I didn't know. Okay, so they're getting ready to roll out the data entry that will be online. So I'm gonna go through this really intentionally, really slowly. It's a lot of information and this is a really just a comprehensive, full system overview. I'm gonna be sharing my screen so you can see the application. Someone has asked a question. Can you mute all? Yeah. And so let me share my screen and we will get started. Let's see. Share.
It should be at the bottom. And also I will try to keep up with any chat questions for you.
Okay. I'm just trying to get to my internet. Okay, screen one. Okay. I have two screens, so I had to figure out which one was which. Okay, can you guys see my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay, so the very first thing that will happen for you as a PARB user is you will get in touch with Keith. You guys will be in touch and he will enter you into the system as a PARB member. Well, you're already a PARB member, but as a user for the database. So once that process has completed, you will get an email greeting that says, thanks for registering. You have successfully registered for the PARB data system. You will be able to upload your PARB recommendations. Let me show you real quick. I have a screenshot of what it looks like. Under new share. Let me see if I can just drag this over. Okay. Okay. So can you guys see this greeting here?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so this is what it'll look like, and it will be from eteam.it@ou.edu. And you'll see it'll have your email. That's kind of like your username. And it'll have a pre-generated password unless you've given Keith a specific password that you want to use. And you will be able to change your password. And we'll go over that in just a few slides. So let me get back to.
And let me remind them, Lisa, I think you kind of went over that real quickly. To get this started, either me or Kim, Christina, or Chera will have to enter your name and all that in the system. And in that system, it has, well, you may be about to cover this, I don't know, but it's got your membership information. So we start the initial generating of the login to generate the email that will come to you.
Yeah, and sometimes you might, I noticed that when we were doing practice, sending out some practice emails, some test emails, that a lot of times we couldn't find the email and I thought they weren't coming, but sometimes they're in other folders, like your junk folder or on Google, there's under more, there's important. And so you might have to look around a little bit to see, make sure it didn't go into your junk folder or a spam folder. But it should come to you with that, with your login information. And if anything's not clear during this whole process, let me know and I'll stop and make it clear or slow down. So sometimes I get going a little fast. So once you receive your login, you will be able, I'm going to log off. So down here at the bottom of the page, it's all branded with PARB. And at the bottom is a button that says login. So what you'll do, actually first you'll need to go to parb.occy.ou.edu. You'll have to put that into your URL. And the URL is just that little strip at the top. So once you put in that PARB address, the PARB website will come up and this will be the landing page. Every time
there's a hyperlink in that email, isn't there, when they get the email?
Yes, there is a hyperlink. Yeah. And then once you log on, the first time, just like any other website that you use a lot, you can put it as one of your favorites, or once you put in PARB, it'll just auto generate and you'll just be able to find it really fast. But the first few times you can use that login or put that into the URL. And that was a good information, Keith. I need to remember that the login button, there's a link on your email greeting. So I'm going to log in. So you'll hit this login button just like that. And then this login screen will pop up and it already has my information. So I guess this is part of the system. I don't have to ever enter in my password anymore. So I do keep that email handy. I never changed my password. I've tested the change, but I haven't changed it on this one. So if you keep that email handy, then you can always go back and find your password if you need it. But usually, unless you switch computers, you probably won't have to enter it in. It just the system just remembers. So I'm going to log in. And when you log in, you will only have access to your district or board. Whatever reviews that you have access to and that you will be entering is all you will have access to. And so some of these buttons that we'll be going through may not apply to you. They might be more for administrative staff. But after clicking the login, then you'll see this landing page. And now that you're logged in, here are the things that you'll be able to do as a PARB reviewer. You'll be able to change your password. We'll go over that. You'll be able to add or create a new PARB case. You'll be able to create a new PARB review that's within an existing case. A lot of times, of course, there's several reviews under one case. You'll be able to edit an existing PARB review. If there was information that you didn't know or that you know that is not correct, you can always, before that PARB review is locked and before it goes to the judge, you can always go in if needed and edit that PARB review. I know that after it goes to the judge, you don't want to edit it because there'll be two different versions. And then you can also, I'll show you how to search for a case by JD number and by name, because right now, as you can see, there's only 8 cases on here. As you enter case after case after case, it'll fill up that screen and it won't be so easy to find a case. And so we'll go over how to find and locate the cases that you need to locate for editing and for adding reviews. You'll be able to remove a child from a case if that child is no longer part of that case anymore. And then you'll be able to add a child to an existing case if another child gets added on. So those are the basic things you'll be doing in the database. And then I think, let me just go over changing your password. I didn't know where the best place to put this in was, but I'm going to show you how to do it if you wanted to do it. So once you receive your login information, you will have the opportunity to change your password if you want to. And so what you'll do is you'll navigate up to the right-hand corner of the screen. And mine says PARB tester. That's what email I created. So it'll be whatever your username is. And then you click on that. Oh, the thing is hiding there we go. So you click on that and you will be able to go to settings. So then click on settings, and this is a lot of information, but you'll also have a user guide that has all of this information in it as well. So once you click on settings, this change password button will pop up over here on the left. You just click change password, and then you will have to enter your current password, which is in that email that you'll receive, the greeting email. And then you'll add a new password and then confirm the new password and then click change password. So that's all you'll need to do to change your password. And Keith and Kim brought up a really good point. What happens if you forget your new password? Right now, the IT guys are still working out the final kinks, adding a few new fields. And one of those links will be either reset my password or forgot password. It'll be one of those, and there'll be the opportunity to retrieve your password or change it, because we know that happens all the time. Does anyone have any questions so far? Okay, so one of the things that you'll really need to get familiar with is this reviews page. I'm pretty sure that as a PARB member, this is the page that you're going to be on 99% of the time. And it's where you'll be able to do everything. So on the far left side is a basic menu. And this right here, this little waffle closes that menu and then reopens it. So I know that sometimes people accidentally hit things like this and you're like, oh my gosh, where did my menu go? So just know that you can always go up to that little waffle in the left-hand corner and reopen your menu if you happen to lose it. And then you just have 2 options reviews and homepage. And when you go back to the homepage, it just goes back to this page and you're already logged in. You can always log off from here. But if you accidentally hit the homepage, you can just always go, oh, I need to get back on. And it'll bring you right back to the reviews page. And this right here is a button under the post adjudication review board. That's really, as a reviewer, you won't use it. It has a different function for the administrative staff. And so the hand will pop up, but it doesn't do anything. Just want to let you know some of those things. And so functions on the review page. So in the middle of the page titled reviews, right here is, it says you're on the review page. There's a list of all the case/reviews that have been created. And each case will have the following information. And we've been calling these columns. It'll have the board, your board, and these will probably have a different name when you actually start entering in real data. It'll have the JD number and the KK number if there is a KK number. And so for these, a KK number, and this is all fake data, just so you know. There's no real data in here. We've just been testing it. So this, you can see, has a JD number, but no KK number. And this one has both. And so both of those will be displayed under this column. And then if there's a name that goes along with the review, which most of the time there is, from what I saw in the data, it'll have the name of the review. And then the next column is last review. And that is the very last review that was entered for this case. And it'll have the date, and it is clickable, and we'll look at that. We'll look at that in a few slides or a few pages on. All reviews. This is all reviews that have been done for this case. So for Campbell, the last review was on 8/03. And then there was one revision, and you can hit that little drop down and you can see when it was. Like I said, this is test data. The previous review would obviously be before 8/03, but that's, I don't know, that's how it is. And then there will be a new review column, and that is where you will add a review. And I promise I'm going to click all these buttons and go through everything. I'm just going to do it kind of step by step. So these are all the things that you'll need on that button. And like I said, your page, you maybe have hundreds of reviews in here, and you'll need to be able to search. And so that's when you will hit that search options button, and it'll bring this down, and you will put in a JD number or the name of the review, and that will isolate that one case. And we'll go through that too. All right, I'm going to try to make sure I got everything on that page. And over here on the right, this is a really large blank section right now. Once you select a review to look at or select add new review, that's where the information will pop up over here. And it does say, please select the review to view more details. Okay, so, and that will collapse that. If you want it open, you push it. If you want it shut, you go like that. So to find an existing case to review, that's what we're going to do. We're going to just pretend that there's several cases in here, and you need to find a case either to view or to edit or to add a review. And so to find a new case, you'll locate that search options button on the reviews page, and then you can enter the JD number or the name. So let's just enter the JD number for Campbell. So it'll be 4444-4444. And all you have to do, there is no search, you just push enter. And that isolates that case right there. And then if you want to see all reviews again, you clear the filter. So that kind of just filters out that one. So let's try typing in part of a name. So let's just type, say we want to find a Princess Tiana's case. So if you can just type in any part of that name and push enter, it brings her up too. So there's two different ways that you can find a review. And then you can always clear that filter and see all the reviews. And this show reviews button isn't really necessary for the everyday PARB member. It's a button that the administrative staff will use. It's just there. unless your screen is minimized, then you might have to use it, but most of you will be using a maximized screen. Okay, so,
Wait a second, Lisa, we had a question.
Oh, okay.
Will search options be expanded? I'm not sure what you mean.
okay, it will not, it's like this, it won't be expanded. And so that's really important to kind of get familiar with these buttons. And you can play around with these buttons and not hurt anything, but search options will not be expanded until you hit it. And then it expands and then you'll be able to search. Did that answer the question?
Not completely. Sometimes we don't have a case number. We may have a name, but there may be another name on the case and it's been reviewed under that other name before. You know,
Okay,
so oftentimes I'm in the situation of having to have a piece of information and trying to put others together with it, match it. So if I could search like based on a KK number or some other criteria, that might be helpful.
okay, we did the JD number just because we thought that every case had an identifying JD number. Is that not the case sometimes?
Well, that is the case, but sometimes we don't know what the JD number is because in comparing the information I get from the court to what I get from DHS, I will find out about a child that I didn't know about previously. And then
Okay.
so I want to end up with a JD number, but I don't have it at the beginning of the process.
At the beginning of your first case, like if you're
First
creating a new case.
Correct.
Okay, well, you will, for this system, you will have to have some kind of identifying name or JD number. I will ask about adding the KK number. The KK number wasn't always on the review forms, and so we chose the JD number, but that's a good question. Keith, do you have any information?
No, I mean, I totally get what Lee's saying, especially when she's talking about other cases related to it, because you're to have different cases, maybe the same family with 3 different cases, so you don't know what the JD number is. We can try to add the KK number at some point, and I should have said this during my little opening remarks. Lisa and her team have visited with Kim and I and Christina about working out kinks, but there's still lots of kinks that will continue to have to be worked out. This is kind of like, Microsoft Word 1.1. It's going to take some editing. So anything like that, we were saying, gee, it would be nice if this, gee, it would be nice if that.
I'm writing these things down.
Yeah, send those our way. We're not going to be able to do everything all at once, but if you're working in the system and you're thinking it would work better if we did something one way, or this is confusing, or you find a glitch, please let us know, probably me first, or whoever you're dealing with, Christina, Kim, or Chira.
I do have a question, Keith. This is Nellie. I want to understand now, what are we getting access to? Now, this is not the password protected OSCN, right? These are still documents that somebody uploaded for us specifically, or so one thing I'll just share. One thing that I would like, but I don't know if we'll ever have this kind of access, but let's say that I have a case with one particular child, but I know that 5 years ago there was a child welfare case with that same parent, am I able to click a hot link with the parent's name somewhere that's gonna go back? I'm sure it's not that, but I do think that there is some other deeper form of OSCN. So does that make any sense?
It makes total sense. And I was thinking about when I saw Barbara's question that we might want to explain that a little bit. Just for everybody's benefit, just to explain it to everybody. I mean, there's the OSCN, I can't remember, Kim, you can tell me what it stands for. But it's the court system. Not every county uses it. Most of I think Tulsa and Oklahoma County certainly do, where they upload court documents. I know in Delaware County, they really wanted to explore access to that. Kim has access, and Christina has access. I don't even have access, and I have visited with the administrative office of the courts. about even getting my own access, and they've been hesitant to even give it to me. So unfortunately, I don't see any point in any time in the near future where PARB volunteers would have access to the online records. Kim, you
Yeah,
wanna
and I
add
just
something?
want to clarify real quick that, so OSCN is Oklahoma Supreme Court Network, and that is a public database. And so for those counties that subscribe to the public database, you can look at court information for all types of cases minus confidential cases, which would include juveniles. So Tulsa County participates in OSCN. So in Tulsa County, you can look up any type of criminal case. You can look up a divorce case. You can look up small claims, but you cannot access, the public cannot access juvenile deprived cases, even though OSCN is available to Tulsa County. OCIS, which is the Oklahoma Court Information System, is a separate system that is maintained by most, it's the electronic version of a court clerk's office. It is where counties hold the electronic files. And that is what access I have and what Christina has. And Keith is absolutely right. I think I have it by the skin of my teeth, quite frankly. And so it's not something that I think PARB members, unfortunately, will be given access to. Although I'd love to see State PARB board work on that. That's a whole nother issue. But what we're looking at today, just to clarify for Tulsa County, my members, because Barbara raised it, Nellie raised it. This database, you will still access all of your legal filings through Box. That process won't change. This is simply for writing your recommendations, storing your recommendations, and us being able to start capturing data about your recommendations.
Yeah,
Gotcha. Thank you.
This is a brand new. Yeah, this is a brand new system that is not linked to OSIS. It's not linked to anything else. It's going to, as you start to enter case information and new case information, it'll start to be populated. So then you can go back and look at old cases, add reviews. So you won't be digging through old recommendations to see what you said last time. It'll pop right up. But it's only PARB information. It's only PARB recommendations, and it's only going to have what your board enters in it. And when we set up your username and passcode, you're only going to have access to your county. So if you're in a particular county, you're not going to see another county's information at all. You're only going to see your own.
Yeah, that was a good question because like Kim said, this is going to be just a data system for those recommendations. Sorry, I didn't make that clear at first. And it is, this will be the start of something where you can look at the data in your county or by state. Like if you want to see the average age of the adjudicated youth in your county, or the average number of months out of home, things like that. Those are the kinds of things that we kind of looked at and analyzed. And we also, this comes kind of toward the end of the presentation or training, we created recommendation categories based on the written recommendations. And so that'll be something that you'll be able to do is like, okay, my recommendation fits under 3 categories: educational supports, tribal supports, and placement. And that way you can, administrative staff, you can see like kind of where your recommendations are falling out categorically. And that can help with training or things like that. If one board, like all the recommendations fall under placement, that might be something to look at and kind of see like, what do these recommendations actually say? So it'll kind of bring to light what the recommendations are in all the counties. Okay, so any more questions? Okay, so what we're going to do next is create a new PARB case and review. So this will be a brand new case. And to create a new case, you'll need to be on the review page, which we are. And at the upper right of the screen or your page up here is add new case. So once you hit that, you'll be able to add all the case details, court details, case review, contacts, attorneys, all that information. So let's go ahead and add a new case. Okay, so you'll select your board. My board is 1-1, and then you'll enter the JD number if you have it. And so this JD number is formatted into 4 numbers at the front, dash 4 numbers at the back. And so it was my understanding that all the JD numbers are kind of formatted like that. And then if there's a KK number, you will enter that here too. And then just to highlight all of these that are marked in red, everything with a red bar by it is a forced entry. So that kind of goes back to, if you don't have a JD number, it's going to be hard, or it's going to be hard to enter a review. And so that's something that we'll have to talk about with Keith maybe later. And then review, we'll just say Johnson. I know when I was entering these in, a lot of them had a last name as review. And then you'll have the judge. And then next court date. And if you don't know some of this information, if it's not marked in red, you can skip it or add it later. So we're gonna say the next court date is August 31st. Case review date, you just go through and enter everything, but it's really important to look at these red lines. So we'll say we're doing it today. We're gonna say that this person is the reviewer. And next review date, we're gonna say here. And then you'll have the opportunity to enter the current DHS worker, phone number, contact date, DHS supervisor, phone number, contact date, and foster parent, phone number, contact date. We are gonna add another line for foster parent. There's gonna be a few changes when you start entering real data. You'll notice a few more fields, and maybe some of the fields have moved a little bit, but it'll all be in here. And then for these dates, I was just going to tell you that, let's just, you can enter it, you can use this calendar that pops up once you push this, or you can enter it manually with 2 numbers for the month, 2 numbers for the date, and 4 numbers for the year. So let's just do 08. Oops. So you can do it that way too, whatever is easiest. And then here is an attorney section. So you can enter the child's attorney. Actually, child's attorney is going to be moved down to the child list. So it'll be a 1-to-1 child. You'll know which child is hooked to which attorney. And then there's mom's attorney, dad's attorney, CASA worker, if there is a CASA worker. The tribe is a drop down. This is not a national list. It is the Oklahoma tribes, which I know that most of them will be that, but there is the opportunity to enter other if it's another tribe. And then other attorney. And then we're going to have a few more spots for the capability to enter multiple attorneys, because I know that sometimes that's the case. And so those are some of the kinks we're working out in the database as well. So after all that information is entered, you can enter the child's name. And then choose the gender. Birth date. Let's do like, for the kids, it's a lot easier to enter it in like this because. And then this is important too. Sometimes maybe people don't know the exact birth date, and you can always enter age here in years or months if you know a general age. If you know the birth date, you do not have to enter in age in years and months. You can just enter in the birth date. And then you can choose a placement type. We'll do traditional foster care, number of months out of home. You can enter this in like this, or you can also use these arrows to go up and down too. There's a box to check Indian Child Welfare Act if that is appropriate. And there's also, for a new review, this would not apply, but this says case closed, closing date, closing reason. And so we added those in, and then there's some notes. So all you have to do is enter this in. And then if there's another child, it's part of the case, you just hit that add child button. and you'll be able to enter in all the information for a second child. I have to fill this in so we can save it. So I'll just do the ones that are, you enter in all that information, and then you don't have to push save or anything. You'll go through this whole thing and then you'll submit it. And so, and again, all the fields that are marked in red are required. Okay, and so once all these case details have been entered, then this is where you can enter your findings and recommendations. And like I said, we based some of this on some of the paper forms that you guys have been filling out. And board findings, some boards call it something different, but it's pretty much, you know, the present case of what's going on. Anything you want to put in there that's important to the case, anything that's happened since the last review, things like that. That's what I noticed that you guys were putting in there. And so let's see.
Yeah, let me jump in there real quick.
Okay.
Lisa. Yeah, a lot of boards do like a finding section where they're kind of like, it's kind of a list of observations. You know, Johnny made it to visitation this week or something like that, where the recommendation is more of a PARB board recommends that visitation continue 3 times a week, something like that. You don't have to have a separate board findings and board recommendations. As a matter of fact, Lisa, we might take the red off the board findings section.
Oh,
If
okay.
someone just wants to do the board recommendations. So you don't need to change the way you're doing it now. Just put it in whatever box is most appropriate. And it may seem like there's a whole lot to fill in these forms. Remember that very few boxes have red on them, or you have to put the JD number in it. We'll lose track of it otherwise. You have to put your name in it as a reviewer, a few things like that. But, and I'm sure Lisa's about to go over this, once you enter this case once, it'll repopulate it. So if you look at it next month or 6 months or a year from now, if it's the same case, you won't have to type any of that information in again, unless it's, you know, new information. And of course, our dream, our vision is to cross-reference like KK numbers with child welfare information. And, you know, the more data we have, the better we can really study, you know, how PARB's doing and how we can improve and how we're impacting the child welfare system. So anyway, that's my soapbox, Lisa. I want to jump in there and get it.
Okay. So we'll just put NA here since it is forced. And then for board recommendations, like I recommends that I'm just making it short and sweet. That'll be all your recommendations. I know that there's several recommendations many times within here. And so after that, this is something that's new that you haven't done. And so this will take a little bit of practice, just getting used to thinking about this. But I think that it's important information. Once you write your recommendation, most likely that recommendation will fit into one of these categories. These categories were created based on all of the PARB recommendations from Oklahoma County and all the PARB recommendations from Garfield County. We looked at 2 different counties and we wrote out all, you know, hundreds of those recommendations and analyzed those. It was a qualitative analysis. So we had 2 or 3 people doing it. And these are the categories that we came up with. And so for this one, you would mark sibling visitation. So there's a visitation, and all you do to mark a box is hover your cursor or your mouse right here and then just left click. And you can pick as many recommendations.
Lisa,
Yeah.
I am so sorry to interrupt. If we're getting some pretty good feedback, at least I am. I don't know if I see a couple people are unmuted. If they could mute, if everybody could be sure to mute their microphones, that would, I think, help a lot.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear any feedback. Okay. Let me see if I can just mute everyone. I just closed my grid video because it was covering some of my.
Yeah, Lisa, you have the power to do that. Unfortunately, I do not right now.
Okay.
But I've seen at least one person mute that wasn't muted, so that's helpful.
Okay, I think in this share screen view, it's a little hard for me to find that mute all button. Let me see. Okay. All right. I think everyone.
Yeah, I think we're good, Lisa.
Okay. And so if you come to a situation where your recommendation really doesn't fit into any of these categories, you don't have to choose one. If you really feel like, you know, this doesn't fit any of these, then we don't want to force anyone to choose something, but I think most likely it will fit under one or more. And these have definitions that Kim and Keith helped create. So in the manual or the user's guide, there's a list of definitions for these categories and examples of types of PARB recommendations that fit under each category. And then, of course, if you were like, oh, I didn't mean to put that, you can unclick it. If you clicked several, you can clear all selections here with this button. And then, so this is where the review approval comes in. So you've entered in all of your information. And you're ready kind of to have it signed off on. So review approval, the PARB chairperson will put their name in here. And once the judge has signed the recommendation, you can go back in and put his name that he's acknowledged it or signed it. If the case was closed, like if this had, you know, was an old review or whatever, this, I didn't come across this very often, but it is in here. In case a case is closed, you have that option to mark case closed, closing date, and closing reason. And then there is also another option in case none of these reasons fit. And then there's a note section. And then what Keith said that this was really important to put so that you know how many copies are being distributed. So you can go mark the child's attorney needs a copy, DHS needs a copy, the district attorney needs a copy, and then there is a little number of how many copies are being printed or whatever. And we're going to go over printing in a minute too. And so then once all this is entered, and this does say new case, you can go back and look at, okay, did I get all of these read? Got that filled in, all the kids' information. And then you can save review. And that's right here, this button right here, and you'll save that review. Then that review will go in right here under your list of reviews. And then, oh, I've got to move this grid again. And then over here is a summary, and it says newly added review. And this is a summary of everything you've entered in. And so, like I said, if you knew the birth date, you wouldn't have to put in the age. It pops up right here, 10 months. It just auto generates. And this open button right here means that this review is still open for editing. The PARB chairperson, once they've looked at it and decided it's good to go, they will have the option to lock the review so that you won't be able to edit it any longer. You'd have to ask for it to be reopened or whatever if you realize that you wanted to edit it. But I think when I was speaking to Kim and Keith, Kim brought up a good point that you shouldn't edit it after it has gone to the judge, because that could cause two different documents that are not the same.
Yeah, and let me answer Carol Bridges' question there.
Okay.
Yeah, Carol, when you create your username and passcode, again, based on what I click to set you up, you'll have access to your county's files, all of them. Everybody on that board will. So if someone's not just the ones they make recommendations on, but all of them for that county, that's right, isn't it, Lisa? But then, as far as the approving it, I mean, it's just what Lisa was saying. You'll have to click on it to kind of finalize it, and then that keeps it from being edited again.
Right. And then I'm going to go ahead and show you print just as it's here, but because it's kind of like the natural, this is on down further. We're going to talk about recommendation categories next. And so when you get ready to print, you'll just hit this print button. And a printed form will appear. And this is what it'll look like. It's able to do more than one page, and then you'll have page 1 of 1. If there's 2 pages, it'll be page 2 of 2, or 1 of 2. And so this is what the judge will see. And I didn't lie. There was one thing I noticed. It just has the birth date, and it doesn't have the age. And so when we looked at the summary, it does have that age. And so we're going to need to make sure that that somehow shows up on that printed form, just for the good information. Okay. And so Keith, I'm going to talk about these recommendation categories, but I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it because I don't think we have enough time, because I want to show them how to edit a review, how to add a delete a child if they want to, and stuff like that. So I was just going to kind of touch on them and kind of share the second screen where we have some of these written out so they can.
Sure.
Okay.
Before you do that though, can we talk a little bit more about printing?
Yes.
So if someone's, say they take their laptop to a courthouse, to access, this is online, so they'll have to have Wi-Fi. So you'll have to, talk to whoever you need to talk to, either at the courthouse to log into their Wi-Fi. I've been to a couple of in Stillwater and at DHS and Osage County the other day, and just ask, hey, what's your Wi-Fi passcode? Can I log in? And they said, yeah, no problem. So that'll give you access to the Wi-Fi. Otherwise, you won't even be able to log in the courthouse. And then they'll have to figure out the printer too. How do they figure out, they hit print, but they've got to identify a printer and know where it's going and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, that is, so if the printer has Bluetooth capability and they can enter in a code and hook that up, sometimes that helps, or that's how you do it. But it's going to be, I don't know if there's a way to kind of figure that out beforehand, so that it's not too stressful when you're there trying to print. That's a good question to.
Well, we don't have to figure it out for everybody right now, but the point is, if you're printing in the courthouse, and of course you could print at home, not a big fan of that, but you could print at home. You have to have yellow paper or whatever, and then you can take it to the courthouse that way if you want to do some final edits. I know some people do that anyway, with hard copies, or figure out what printer you can use at the courthouse, which would be ideal.
Right. I know that some people have portable printers, but it's probably not feasible for all the boards to bring a portable printer. That might be something to think about.
Right. And a couple other things real quick that I saw questions on. Barbara was asking about, maybe adding a column on the categories. I think for right now, we're going to do a kind of a moratorium on major changes and just kind of collect your all suggestions. Because right now, your staff, Lisa, is trying to frantically make the corrections that Kim and I have already identified. So we need to give them about 30 days to catch up, and then kind of see if there's any things that we need to maybe debate. Some things will be obvious, some things we need to talk about. And we'll just collect those. You can send them to me, and I'll collect those questions, suggestions, and then we'll kind of continue to meet and work on those tweaks. And then the question, do we have to print? Well, I think yes, unfortunately, is the answer to that, because the court clerk's office needs a hard copy. Now, that judge I was talking to, wanted to just look it up virtually, which is great, but I don't think we're to that point. And our statute says we have to file with the court clerk and make it part of that court file. The court file is a hard copy file. So we might be able to work towards that, but right now I think the answer to that is yes.
Okay. Yeah, and some of these things, always with a new system and, things like this, there's going to be some frustrations. And so I think having an open mind and trying to work through those and realize that we're gonna be supportive and trying to help you figure these things out too. So, you know, we'll be here to help. But there will be some frustrations, I'm sure.
You know, Keith and Lisa, are you planning to roll this out beta to a few people that would actually be using it so you can get input from boards? Because, you know, I'm coming up with a few things that I think would be easier for me, and I have some questions too, but if we could actually use it, you know, watching isn't the same as using.
Yeah, yeah, the
Oh,
one you'll
yeah,
really
you
learn
mean-
is, yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, for, you know, again, y'all don't know yet, there's Oklahoma County, there's Tulsa County, and there's everybody else. Well, Kim's gonna work with Tulsa County, and she's itching to, let me put words in your mouth, Kim, but she's itching to get started, so she'll be setting up people really quickly. And I know, you know, Christina has 7 separate boards, so it may take her a minute to get those going. And yeah, if you want to be one of the first boards to get started, all I have to do is enter your information in and you'll get an email to get started. I've got 36 boards to cover, so I'm gonna hit the ones that are the most, I think, ready and interested. So if yours falls in that category, then you know, please let me know.
Yeah, I don't know that it does, Keith, because I have some questions about how practical it is in our environment. Some people don't even use computers, you know, so, and they're not going to have a laptop. So I'm not sure we're ready, but I mean, I personally would like to be able to play with the system a little bit, but I don't need to if somebody else is doing that.
Well, you can, all I have to do is create your username and passcode, and you can go in there and play and learn it all you want. And that might be really helpful for sharing with your other board members.
Mhm.
I totally realize there's a spectrum of readiness. I mean, that's what I was talking about at the beginning. I think there'll be some boards that are real excited and they'll all bring their own laptops that they use every day to the meeting, and they're going to want to do it. And there's some people that'll be kicking and screaming 3 years from now saying, I'm doing a hard copy and I don't, you know, so it's going to take a while. We've talked about making printers available to board members. We've talked about making tablets available. There's a lot of logistics to get through on this. So I would just, if I was in your situation, Lee, I mean, you got a very sophisticated board, you got a great board. I would visit with them and just say, you know, hey, this is kind of what State PARB is thinking about. Let's start to identify some things that will work and not work. Are there any of you that feel good bringing your own laptop, or would you have to have, you know, your own, or you know, I don't know. I just have conversation with the board. Does that help?
All right. So I'm going to kind of briefly go over these recommendation categories. It could be a training in and of itself. So, because we really had a lot of conversations about these categories and kind of what things would go underneath them. So I'm going to share my other screen so you guys can kind of see these. Okay. So, and this is the user's guide. It's almost completed, but I need to change out some screenshots because as the IT guys fix the things that we've already identified, it'll look a little bit different. So in that guide, there are all these categories that we saw here. Let's see. Well, you can't see that screen that we saw that you might click. So placement, and these are in ascending or descending order from most popular that we saw when we did data analysis to the least popular categories or least used. So for example, the placement category should be chosen if anything regarding placement is mentioned in your recommendation. It could be a direct mention of placement, like we recommend that we place all siblings together, or it could be less direct, like we recommend trial reunification, which is a placement recommendation, but doesn't mention the term placement. So these are examples of what we saw in the data that went under placement most commonly. Placing all siblings together, reunification, trial reunification, pursuing adoptive placement, continuing with current placement. That was a really popular one. If everything seemed to be going fine, that was a recommendation just to continue with the current placement. locating an ICWA compliant placement. Those were not exhaustive list, but some examples of things we saw going under the placement category.
Hey, Lisa, will you look every once in a while and see if if anyone else needs to be admitted to the meeting? I just got an email from someone saying they were waiting to be admitted and never were.
Oh, okay.
Just glance real quick and just hit admit all.
Yeah, I kind of think I can do that when I share my screen. So I might have to stop sharing real quick because those things aren't popping up. I just have a grid. So let me stop sharing real fast.
Okay. There may not be anybody at this point. But
Okay. Yeah, here it is right here. That's where I can mute all. I don't see anybody.
Okay, well, that may
Okay.
have been the one person.
Okay.
Okay, carry on. Sorry, I just didn't want to leave anyone hanging.
Okay. Okay, I was looking one more time. Okay. Okay, so let me get to sharing again, share screen 2. Okay. And so when you have a chance to really dig in and start using the database, you might want to have this guide handy to kind of look at these. Like this one's parental rights and supports. That was anything that the PARB recommended that had to do with parental rights and supports, as well as in favor of advocating for parental rights and supports, like termination of parental rights, delaying termination of parental rights, enforcing collecting child support payments. That was a recommendation that came up a lot. Issuing a protective order for one parent. And so these are all pretty straightforward, pretty easy to understand, I think. As we get on into, there's the individual service plan for parents, one for children. There are some ones that I found that you guys are probably more familiar with that I found a little bit harder to understand, like reasonable efforts and active efforts. And so Kim really helped explain that, kind of what that was. And so it'll be a good idea to really go over that pretty carefully and ask questions if you're, having trouble, like, I don't know if this, fits under here or not, but she did come up with some examples for those as well, which I found was really helpful in trying to understand that. There's mental health services, counseling, therapy, psychological evaluation, inpatient treatment, specialized program, trauma treatment. Of course, sibling visitation. And we split the sibling visitation and parental visitation separate because that would be important to know. Tribal supports, a lot of times for especially the ICWA, there would be ensuring tribal enrollment, engagement in tribal activities. Of course, different types of parental visitation, therapeutic visitation, supervised. There was a lot of recommendations that would say that the PARB recommended delaying visitation for 6 months to see if things improved or to see if parents were working their plan when they hadn't been, overnight visitation. There's always termination of visitation and delaying termination of visitation. The ICWA findings is also something that's pretty, that I wasn't familiar with before I started working on the PARB and looking at that. So that's really, Kim and Keith really helped parse that out as to what active efforts are. And these do overlap a little bit. And so active efforts is a category, but it could also fit under the ICWA findings. And good cause, that's really stated out well. Like I said, you guys are probably more familiar with this and used to making those recommendations. Permanency plan, that was recommended a lot, like to solidify a permanency plan. Maybe it was recommended that the permanency plan be updated based on certain information that came to light or that was new. And permanency planning with current foster family, that was common as well.
Well, and Lisa, if I can interject real
Yes,
quick, I just want to clarify in case anybody's wondering. And Keith, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. These check box categories that she's going through right now are directly related to what you ultimately recommend.
Yes.
So let's say you're reviewing a case and a parent is receiving mental health services. You're not checking boxes based upon what's already being provided in the case, because clearly you would be checking, maybe all the boxes. You are only checking boxes with a category that is directly tied to your recommendation as a member. So if you recommend that there be a change in permanency plan, you would check the permanency plan category. If you raise a concern that active efforts are not being provided, you could check both the active efforts and the ICWA findings category. And I could go on and on with examples, but I hope that helps clarify. It's not about what's already being provided in the case. It's about what you directly recommend.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kim. That makes perfect sense. And a lot of times I would notice in the recommendation, it would say PARB recommends this, and this. And so that's exactly right. It's just for the recommendation. And I know the recommendations are based on what is happening on kind of those board findings, but for these categories, it's only what's being recommended for that review, for that particular review that you're completing. So very good.
And just to reemphasize too, this is new, it's never been done before, and it's not required. I mean, we think it would be super helpful because like I said earlier, we really want to help move PARB up to the next level. And one of the ways to do that is to start identifying kind of what categories PARB recommendations tend to fall. But your recommendation is still going to happen whether you click any of them or all of them.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of once you've made the recommendation, if you can click some of the subject areas that your recommendation tied into, that will help for research, for training, for moving it forward.
Yeah, and I know when I was thinking about this, I was thinking, if I were a PARB member and I had been used to filling out the PARB recommendation form and writing my recommendation, and then now I need to pick a category based on these definitions, my personality, I would get a little stressed out. I would be like, oh my gosh, what if I get this wrong? Or what if I'm not hitting all of them? That's not what we're trying to do. We're not trying to, you have to make sure that, everything is clicked if it's part of your recommendation. This is a step, like Keith said, to start becoming more aware of what kind of recommendations are being made, and that kind of information can be powerful once we get a lot of data. And so it's just kind of moving to the next step for PARB, I think. And I think it'll be good once people do get used to this. It'll be really interesting information, and it can lead to changes in planning, changes in training, things like that, positive changes. Okay, so now I think we touched on this too, finalizing the PARB recommendation, and that will be the chairperson. Once all the information is entered, the chairperson will have to sign off. That doesn't mean that it can't be printed. Well, Keith, will that signature have to be on there before it's printed? Yes, right?
I'm sorry, ask the question again.
Well, so they're in the courthouse and they're filling out their recommendation. Will the PARB chairperson, before it's printed, will that name have to be in there? Will that have to be on the printed form? Or
Yes.
okay, so that you will have.
Well, I mean, they could print it and then sign the hard copy.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say. Like it might not work out for the person to be right there where they can sign the hard copy and then the judge too. And then you can go in later into the system if it helps and enter that information in just as a check, like, okay, this was signed.
But the chairperson can edit prior to putting their approval on it. Is that right?
Yes, that's exactly right. And then of course the copies to be distributed, we went over that. And we talked about printing. And then all these print details. This one is this example right here has a little more information in it. Like you can see the recommendation and the board findings. And so, I think I have printed one of these. One of the recommendations was that the font be a little bit bigger, and so I need to ask about that. I can read it, but it is on this big screen, and so that might be something to think about, but that'll all be on there. And so let's, we have about 15 more minutes, so let's go ahead and talk about editing a review. And
Just, Lisa, I know I keep dragging on by.
It's okay.
But just real quick on the printing, tell me if I'm wrong, but you can print to a PDF, right?
yeah,
Which
that's
not
what,
actually-
yeah. So I don't know if everyone knows how to do that, but when you print, there's an option where you choose your printer, and PDF is an option.
And then you could email that to, say, a court clerk to print
Yeah.
your report or something.
Yeah, and that'll make it, it'll say print to PDF, and that means that your, all the summary of the review that would be printed is just in a PDF. And it looks exactly the same, but you don't print it, you just save it as a PDF. So that's exactly right.
I happen to see the little drop down arrow next to that print too, which if I'm not mistaken, that's also a way to download a PDF, correct?
Yes, that is, let me share my other screen. Oh, I'm not even sharing anymore. Oh, okay, I'm over here. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I'm gonna show you what Chara's talking about. So right here is that print button. You print, and then it makes it easy for you. You can download case sheet. Are you guys seeing that? I'm making sure you can see my screen one. Oh wait, no, because I didn't share it. Okay, so let's say we did print that, and I think this is what you're talking about, Chara. Download case sheet right there.
No, the arrow next to what looks like a printer.
Yes, it's the same thing. Yeah, so you can hit that button, and you can save it on your computer. Like if you want to save it on your desktop, you could name it and save it, or you had a file. You can also download the case sheet, which makes it go down here, and it pops up like that. And then here's that print button. And what I was talking about when I said print to PDF, you can always go like that and save as a PDF. And I probably need to add that into the manual. That's one thing I hadn't put in there, but that's a really good thing to have in case you can't actually print right then. All right. And then you can close out this screen like this, and then you're back to your review page. And so there may be times when you need to edit a review, of course. And so when you need to do that, you'll just need to locate the review that needs to be edited. If you don't see it right here right away, of course, you can enter in that JD number or any part of the name, and that will pop up. So let's just pretend that this is so long that we can't tell. Okay, and it's not case sensitive. And so you can look at this and say, okay, so this is the last review that I need to edit. You can pop that up. It'll pop up on the side here. Everything will always be on the right side. And this is the summary. So it doesn't look like when you add a review or when you add a new case. It's just a summary. So what you'll have to do is go all the way down to the bottom and click edit review details. And that will bring up what looks like when you add a new case or add a new review. And you will not, this right here isn't editable because that JD number stays the same. The name of the review stays the same, but all of this information is editable. It's just that case details are kind of grayed out because that's pre-populated and it should stay the same. And any of this other stuff is editable. So let's say that we made a mistake and they had a tri-affiliated with them, you could add that. If you wanted to add, oh, you know, I meant to say this in my recommendation, you can add that. And oh, I think maybe this also fit my recommendation. You can just edit it as much as you need to and then save the review. And then that information will be part of that review. And let's say you need to add a PARB review to an existing case. So once again, you'll locate the case that you need if you don't see it, and then you will go over to new review. And so you will add a review here. And this is pre-populated. So it looks like a review is already in there, but it's just because it pre-populates all the information that was in there before. So it pre-populates the judge, things like that, that may say the same, but if it's not the same, of course, you'll need to put in the right information. So it's just a good idea to kind of look and say, is all this the same or does it need to be changed? And then you will go down and all this information, if it's the same, you don't need to change it. You'll just need to go to your board findings, recommendations, write those in, and then fill out the rest of the form. And so when you, because I noticed that whenever I was looking at paper reviews, you'd have to write this stuff in every single time. And so that is one thing that's going to be really great. You won't have to write all the information in again or type it in if it's the same. If it's not the same, you can retype it and it will stay the same for the previous reviews, but for this new review that you're adding, it will be different. It will reflect the current information. And then after all that, you will just say review. I'm just gonna enter some stuff to make sure it saves. And let me look. Oh yeah, gotta add a review date and a reviewer. That all looks good. And then we will be able to save this review. And then that review will show up right here under last review. It says 8/24/21. You can click it and it'll always pop up over here. And then you can see all the other revisions. There was that one on 8/24/21. Let me go ahead and do this through this filter. Okay, so I just noticed that there are 2 reviews here, and when it was singled out, it didn't show these 2, so I need to write that down. And you will find small glitches that you can write down and send to Keith, and taking a screenshot is a good idea to send those in so we know exactly what's happening. Okay, so that's how you add a new review. And let's say that you need to remove, that you're getting ready to add a review. I don't think you would ever need to remove a child from a previous review unless you realize that child wasn't part of that case. But when you go to add, let's just see, add review, and you're like, oh, wait a second. Max Wilson is not part of this case anymore. He's either, you know, whatever happens for whatever reason, he's not part of this case. You will just remove that child from that case, from that review, sorry. So they won't show up in the current review if they're not part of the case anymore, but they will show up in all previous reviews. So you'll have that record of them being in there, but if you realize that this child's been moved to another case or for whatever reason isn't part of this case anymore, you can have the option to remove them as you're making a new revision. And you can see right here that this is a new revision. So it's like a new review. And so you can be like, oh, you know, we need to remove this child, and it just removes them from that current review. And then of course, it's pretty much the same thing for adding a child. You are doing a review and you're like, oh, we have another child that has come on this case. You just click that add child button, and then you enter in all their name, information, birth date, placement type, all of that. And then you complete your review and then you can save it. And then we've talked about this, but anytime you see this locked button, it means it's open for editing. or the open button. And when it's locked, it will be red and it'll say locked. I don't have that, since I'm just on as a member, I don't have the permissions to click it, but that will be like administrative. The chairperson can lock it. So that's what'll happen. If you do find that it's locked and it shouldn't be locked, you can contact, your admin or your chairperson, and they can unlock that for you.
So the chairperson, when I set up a new member and I identify them as a chairperson or just a member, that gives them authority to lock or unlock that case, right?
Right.
So if something's locked and it shouldn't be, well, they just need to visit with their chairperson.
Mhm.
But I'm actually more worried about things not being locked, because you just don't want to keep making changes.
Right.
Submitted anyway.
Right. And I believe it was Lee. I'm not sure I'm saying her whole name, but I think it was Lee that mentioned, this isn't the best way to learn something by just watching. And so I totally agree with that. My philosophy of education is that learning happens best when it's hands-on. And so, like Keith said, whoever wants to start trying to use this system, we can be supportive. We can come out to do some, little mini trainings and things like that if your board needs more help. And Keith is going to be really familiar with the database. I know Kim has a really large county, Tulsa, so she's going to be really familiar with it. And so staying in touch with them is a good idea too. Oh, that's what it looks like. Oh, you can't see that. If it's locked, it will look like this. This is a screenshot of what it looks like locked.
So is that your presentation then? Lisa?
Yeah, that's a lot of information at one time, but yeah, that's pretty much everything you can do in the database right now.
Okay, and I promised I would email out the manuals, but not to put you on the spot, but you're not quite ready for that, are you?
No, I need just to change out the screenshots as they, I know we're adding the child's attorney in the child box so that which attorney goes with which child in a case. And so that's one of the screenshots I need to fix. So there's a few screenshots. I am hoping to have it done early next week, because I know that people really need to have a user's guide. It makes it a lot easier to navigate. And this is recorded, but again, it's still like kind of choppy if you're trying to find information. The user's guide has a table of contents. And so you can just go look and be like, oh, I need to figure out how to do this. And then, we're available for technical support too. If you have trouble, you can email Keith and then he can get in touch with us, and we can, it's a priority to make sure that, your questions get answered and that you feel like you have support as well through this whole process.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate that too. For one thing, please be patient. I have a family thing that I'm going to take care of. I'm heading off this afternoon and I won't be back till Friday morning. So I won't be available for the next few days, but I'll send something out where Chara can answer your questions. Lisa, myself, Christina, or Kim. If you're one of the not Tulsa and not Oklahoma County PARBs, and you want me to set you up to create your username and password so you can start messing around, just email me and I will do that. And then if you visit with your board, if you think your board is ready to maybe start doing this, let's try to set up a training where I can come out and we'll actually log everybody on and we'll go through it. So all good.
Lisa, could I make one quick little suggestion since
Sure.
you changed on the review form when you're entering where it currently says time out of home?
Uh-huh.
I personally would like to see removal date, and then time out of home would update automatically based on the like when you do your next review, it would automatically update based on the date of removal. And I think it would save time for the reviewer.
Okay. And then it would be auto populated. Okay. That's a good idea. Okay, I got that down. All right, does anyone have any questions? I see a few.
Everybody overwhelmed?
Yes.
Hi, Shirley.
Yes.
Change is good, right? Anybody excited? How about that? Well, Carolyn says she likes it, so that's good.
I personally like it for me. I'm not sure how all the members, I think some may be intimidated by it. But for me personally, I like the idea.
Good. Well, I
Good.
mean, I know I've said it 3 times, but please take a deep breath. There's no requirement to have everybody converted in the next 30 days. If you are comfortable doing your hard copies and you want to, do it the way you've been doing it and kind of slowly work towards this, I mean, please do. I think before too long, people are going to get used to doing it this way and they're going to really like it once the kinks are gone. But that's might be a little bit of a painful process in the meantime.
And I just want to encourage everybody. I've spent a lot of time on it the past few months and looking at kinks. I know we may not be able to solve the printer issue and the electronic issue for, some boards and some people right now. So it's probably not going to be feasible for everybody. But for those that, like you said, Lee, that can access those items, I think going through a training like this always seems worse. When you get on there and you log in, you will see, I think you guys will love it. The forums, you've got more space now. You don't have to worry about cutting and pasting or fitting within a small space. You don't have to worry about maybe not being able to read handwriting, which, I mean, we all know that's a problem sometimes. So it's actually so easy to use. I do want to emphasize that. I think it seems intimidating through this training, but when you get on there, I would bet most people can actually utilize it without any guide or any training, because it is literally one screen and you either add or you click on the existing review and it populates. It's pretty simple. So don't be too intimidated. I think it's going to be, I think everybody will really enjoy it for those that it works with.
Well said, Ken, well said.
I don't think you'd have to have everybody on the board that is, I mean, as long as you have someone or 2 people on the board that can do the online stuff, I don't think everybody would have to log on there. I know mine won't be. I think it looks easy. I could do that now, I think, but
It's pretty easy. And
it's
for the
straightforward.
reviewer, there's not that many options. And so I think it's pretty easy, but there, like, we said, there are some things that need to be worked out still, and we're trying to get those as quick as we can.
I'm kind of excited about it. I think I'm the secretary on ours and I do a lot of spreadsheet stuff, and I mean, I can see this would be really great. And even if I just, had copies of these, I could work on this and I think make it easier too for perhaps the chairman.
Yes, indeed.
I thought that was you.
Yeah, Carolyn's a spreadsheet queen for sure.
She is. I couldn't do it without her.
Well, I think we can use this. We'll have to talk.
Good. Well, I think that would be the sage advice to leave with is take a deep breath, try to absorb this, reach out to me, Kim, Christina, Chera, visit with your board, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, for sure. And then there's another, when was the other training? On Monday?
It's the 31st, which I believe a Tuesday.
Oh, okay, Tuesday.
Yeah, it's a week from today in the PM, 5 p.m. to 6:30.
Okay.
So if you have other board members that maybe want to attend and learn about it, then let's have them attend that. And of course, this will be recorded. Actually, Lisa, will you make me what do you call it? Facilitator again, moderator?
Yeah, Keith, how do I do that? I just never see that.
Click in my top right, 3 dots.
Oh, okay.
Click on that and then
Make host. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, I think that way I'll get the recording.
Okay.
Otherwise, you'll get the recording.
Okay. Well, Keith, I put it in the cloud. And so you'll just have to go on Zoom and get it, but it'll be on your.
They should email, we'll work that out. It should email to me or it'll
Okay.
email to you. It'll get emailed to the host. So I
Okay.
don't know.
Okay.
Any other questions, thoughts? Yeah, I know the logistics, where to print it, how to get Wi-Fi at the courthouse will be probably your biggest challenge. But I feel pretty good about that. You know, they, not saying everybody needs to go out and buy them, but reminded that they sell little inexpensive printers that you could bring with you and attach to your laptop. We talked about getting tablets for everybody. And then, you know, the last 2 courthouses or DHS offices I was at, all I had to do was ask what the Wi-Fi password was, and they gave it to me, and it wasn't hard at all. So anyway. Okay, well, I guess we're out of time, and
Thanks,
good meeting
everyone. Nice to
everybody.
meet you.
Nice job, Lisa. All right. Have a good week.